Good day, it's Tony Fortunato from the tech firm. Today I'm going to introduce you to a neat little product called Qual'It from Opale Systems. So I think you're going to find this very interesting. Let's start with a little background. So what and why? So when testing performance, many times you need to copy a file from a web server. That's what people do for testing. I'm going to talk about other ways of doing this, of course. In previous articles, I covered things like iperf, iperf3. Those typically run in memory, right? And doesn't involve real web commands. So what do you do if you want to include like a real web server, real HTTP commands, DNS, disk storage systems? So these are all variables, right? And they all add to latency, delay, or affect performance. Downloading a file is a great start, right? So you can measure performance from the web server, storage, network path to your computer when you copy a file down, and you can do that using, FTP, HTTP, or utilities like wget, or just right-clicking on your browser and downloading a file. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great start. So HTTP is not straightforward, and we got to just kind of stop for a second and take a step back, because if I'm the workstation and I want to get to the techfirm.com, what has to happen for me to get there? Well, obviously I need an IP address, all that kind of stuff, default gateway, yeah. But then I need obviously to do a DNS lookup for the techfirm.com. After I get that resolution, I go through my proxy, I go through my firewall, I go through the internet, and then I hit the web server. So the web page is a very simple page, and for example, there's a LinkedIn logo. So then what do I need to do? Then I need to do a DNS lookup for LinkedIn, and then I go pull down that logo. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with Google. So I'm looking this stuff up constantly, and this is a very simple static page. This isn't even a multi-tiered application, because that only adds to the complexity with SQL on the back end and that sort of thing. Now, if you want to go get it, so Opale's freemium version, it's right here, opalesystems.com/free-network-testing-solution. I'm going to put that URL in the write-up, so you just click on it and you'll go right there. Or if you want to go check it out, just go to Opale Systems and you'll see the Qual'It section, and you can get it from there as well. So this is a little outline of kind of what I was doing and just kind of explain the product. So the freemium version, I drew these little orange boxes to show you what's included. You get a console and you get 2 agents, and it's really important you understand why you get 2 in just a little bit, so just hold on. And then basically this guy does all the work, tests, and then sends results back to this console. I'm running it on Windows 10, just a workstation, nothing fancy. It's not a server or anything. It's just it's actually just a laptop, to be honest with you. And then there's obviously other types of agents we could use for our testing. So after you install the console, basically you can get to the console anywhere. You don't need to work physically from that machine, which is very convenient. So you just type in https:// and the IP address of that console, and you're prompted with the login screen. The default login and password is root. Okay, it's not obvious, so I thought I would spell that out ahead of time so you don't spin your wheels. Now, after you get into the console, you're probably going to want your agents. So go get an agent. How do you do that? Well, you click on the help. At the bottom of the help screen, you'll see Qual'It agents, and you will only see the Windows agent. Why? Because it's the freemium version, which is good enough for you to get some work done and play with the product and get comfortable with it. I also suggest that for your initial setup, tests, that sort of thing, please make sure your security products aren't blocking the console or agent or firewalls, or if you have Carbon Black, it's not flagging it or taking it out, that sort of thing. Just make sure that whatever system you use it on, it's working fine before you go whole hog with the product. So step 1 from the console. Just a little review. We got our console, we got our agents, everything's installed, and of course you've documented the IPs of the agents. From the console, you're going to log in and click on the box image, and this is a very simple concept. The box is where you literally your agents, right? So it's that simple. So we click on that image, we add a box, and you're going to put a name of that agent, whatever you want. I just called it VMware, and I put the IP address of it, and the box is saved successfully, and that's it. It's that simple, right? So it's not automatically going to find your agents for you. You have to put them into the actual product. Then from there, we're going to do a quick test, and it's real simple. You just literally go to tests, quick test, and you can change the test name. So you can change it to whatever you like, or just leave it as a default, and the duration. Little tip again, when you first get started, please don't use big long times just to find out there's something wrong with your setup. Please stick with like 10 seconds, make sure it works, and then you can always make the duration longer afterwards. So now we're going to add a service pair, and that is an agent to a real server or service. I'm going to use HTTP in this example, but you can see there's a few options here on the pull down. And now we select the agent or box and leave the rest alone. So I just literally put that in there. So if you didn't put anything into the box earlier, you're not going to have anything to select for your actual agent or box over here. So just make sure you pay attention to that. Service is Google, and the thresholds are called web application. So the thresholds is important. The profile you can go in later. You can change it if you'd like to make it a little more realistic, and I'm going to talk about that just a little bit later. So this is a service pair, agent to real server. So you only need one agent for this test. Then we've got our actual test status. So you're going to wait for your test results. It could be a minute or however long. And you literally go to Results, Quick Tests in your menu, and you will see this progress bar going across as in progress. If they failed, you'll see the statuses, or if they're successful, you'll see the status as well. And the neat thing about this is when your test is completed, in this case it's a success status. This is based on our thresholds, which you can obviously modify. And then there's this really neat button called Test Summary, this little down arrow kind of button, if you will. When you click that, it asks you what indicators you want to see, and these are specific reports. So instead of seeing everything, you might just want to look at one thing. So for the people who know me, know Wireshark protocol analysis, this is a TCP handshake, and this is the TCP SYN ACK time. And you can see it throughout the entire conversation, which is very helpful and would take quite a bit of time if you were to do this manually with Wireshark. Now, with the test results, we can also look at the thresholds for this test, right? And you want to make sure a few things. Number one, if you fail, do not just blindly bump them up. That's silly. But what you don't want to do is stay with the thresholds if they're too high. So retransmits, I have 0. Let's just say the most I've ever had on my network is 5 retransmissions for this service. Then I might want to change the threshold for, I don't know, from 50 to 10, for example. Something more realistic. DNS resolution, mine was 18 milliseconds. If I know the maximum on my network is 50, well then I might want to change the threshold to 75. That sort of thing. Request times 140 milliseconds, and the default is 2,000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. And again, I'd want to change that as well. So you want to make the thresholds more realistic. Why? Because if it fails, you want to be able to troubleshoot things accurately. But if they pass, you want it to mean something. So please get familiar with your network and your thresholds. Now we're going to talk about a network pair, and that is agent to agent. So we need 2 agents for this test. There's 1 and there's 2. In this case, the quick test I'm going to do is TCP. It's a throughput test using TCP. And basically, I just blast, in this case, 100 megabits per second. They also have a 1 gig script, by the way, just so you know. And let it go. So now it tells me that, hey, my result was 98.47 megabits per second. Threshold was 94. So 98, better than 94, which means it's successful. But then I can actually look at the threshold. So if you want, oh, look, a little tiny dip. You might want to look into that. I doubt it. But the point is, you can actually see how the throughput graphed during the entire process. Because maybe there was a dip at one point because of packet loss and that sort of thing. VoIP testing, people all want to know about VoIP testing. So the VoIP test script, very helpful. It's good for obviously troubleshooting, but it's also good for assessing if the network is VoIP ready. So if you have a laptop on your Wi-Fi, you might want to run this test and see if it's VoIP ready. Okay. In this case, again, we're going to use 2 agents. So there's 1 and there's 2. And this is the key. The codec is not selected by default. You need to pick something. Don't randomly pick something. Pick something that you're using. In this case, I chose G711A. And this is kind of nice because what you might find is with one codec it failed and with another codec it passed, right? So you can play with a couple of scenarios in your environment. And then you have your VoIP sample report. So here we've got jitter, because that's what people like to see. Jitter is not response time, okay? And it's really important you understand that. And you can see it's 15 milliseconds, and it drops all the way down to almost nothing, and then 15, and then almost nothing. So you can look at the jitter again throughout the entire duration of the test to see if there's any major spikes or anomalies. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tool. Give it a try. And I'm also going to, again, give you the URL in the write-up. So have a good day. Bye for now.